Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of Ngo Talks with the Agents of Change. I'm your host, Nitin Shah, CEO and Director of ICHA Support Foundation. And today we are in conversation with the Director of Manav Foundation, Binaifer Jesia. Let me first introduce ICHA Support Foundation for all of you. ICHA Support Foundation is a non-profit organization focusing on promoting the mental health space, that is, bringing about change through awareness, support, and education. Our work is based on the belief that raising public awareness, educating communities, and equipping every person with the right tools can help us foster optimal mental health. That said, our primary focus is on helping mental health practitioners and other agents of change in facilitating their work more effectively. Uh, from we have been working with mental health practitioners for years now. This is us spreading into the area of working with NGOs working in the area of mental health, and this is our first initiative in that respect. So, welcome all of you for the first episode. Let me introduce to all of you our speaker for the day, Binaifer Jesia. She's the director of Manav Foundation, has been with the organization since its very inception in 2004. Human behavior has always been a great interest to her, and an extension of that interest brought her to the field of mental illness and health. Her introduction to the field of mental illness and rehabilitation was accidental, but it clearly is her heart's calling. About Mana Foundation. Mana Foundation was founded in 2004 and built on core values of dignity, inclusion, and equality. Mana Foundation enables recovery, development, and inclusion of individuals living with mental illness and emotional disorder. Under its umbrella, the Manav Mental Health Project provides various services like counseling, rehabilitation support, caregiver support, therapies, and much more. So, welcome, Benefia. Thank you for being a part of this first episode of ours. I would really like to begin by asking you to tell us a bit more about yourself. I've given a brief introduction, but we would like to know a bit more from your side.
Sure. So first of all, thank you very much on the contrary for facilitating this space and for facilitating organizations like ours and helping us get the word out. I do feel that there's that sort of awareness is more or less lacking, unfortunately, and you're filling that gap. So thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
So a little bit about myself. Well, I started off my journey in mental health quite accidentally, as your introduction rightly said. I stumbled upon it when I was sort of looking out. I was experimenting in different, arenas. I worked with children. I worked with, you know, um, different sorts of populations, and I didn't quite know exactly what I wanted to do once I graduated. And then I stumbled upon an organization known the Samaritans, which I'm sure everyone is aware of. And that was my introduction to mental health and mental illness, particularly. And of course, I did after that, I did my MSW. I worked in other areas as well. I did other things in between. But, I think coming back to mental health and coming back to mental illness was just meant to be. I couldn't stay away for long. So here I am.
Perfect. And would you be able to give us a bit more introduction to Mana Foundation and the activities that Mana Foundation does?
Sure. So, Manav Foundation is an umbrella organization for adult mental health. We do, however, have the most predominant focus on mental illness. We do feel that that is an area that sort of requires special sort of mention, because it isn't very often that people think of mental illnesses when they think of mental health. So mental health and mental well-being, more and more important as circumstances around us unfold and as the days sort of go by. But I think one aspect of mental health, so to speak, mental illness aspect is something that I think has been, sidelined, marginalized more than others. And that's the area that we really focus on. So, as one of our core values, as you said, is inclusion, our main focus, our vision, our entire the objective of everything we do is inclusion, and inclusion of people who are living with mental illnesses such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorders, uh, endogenous depressions. These are people who have an illness and who, because of this illness, aren't able to function or aren't able to perhaps pursue, whatever it is that they have in store for them in life. And our focus is on the non-clinical aspect of treatment of people who have mental illnesses.
Okay. And when you mention non-clinical, would you be able to elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, my entire I'll share a little bit of my perspective where that's concerned and where that
Sure.
started is that I think that when I started in the field of mental health, so this was almost 20 years ago, and at that time, people who had illnesses like schizophrenia or any of these illnesses, of course, the stigma was much, much bigger than it is today and far more resounding than it is today. And it even kept people away from going to psychiatrists. However, I would say that in the last, 2 decades, that has changed. And I think that now people are definitely more open to visiting psychiatrists and to, saying, ठीक है कुछ problem है तो हम डॉक्टर के पास जा रहे हैं जाएंगे so there is an openness to that. But I think what is not really known is that clinical, what a doctor can do for you is extremely, extremely important, of course, but it cannot be the end all and the be all of treatment. The very nature of a mental illness and sometimes the nature of its treatment as well makes it very difficult for people to really, resume what they've lost along the way in terms of their skills, in terms of their abilities, in terms of even their capacity for self-determination and, just day-to-day functioning. So that is something that, no number of medicines, no pills that you be able to help you with that. So the non-clinical is the rehabilitation, is the part that takes care of, helping you sort of get back what you've lost, So just like, for example, if you, broke a leg, you would do whatever the doctor needed you to do, but you'd also do physiotherapy to get back on track. Or if you
Correct.
had a heart attack, or if you have diabetes, you would, but you'd also watch your diet and you would also make sure you walk and you exercise. So that's the rehabilitation part of it that
Okay,
we're talking
perfect. That's actually very interesting because this is one of the questions that a lot of people ask us when they come for one-to-one sessions at times that I'm already going to a psychiatrist, I'm only taking a
about.
medicine.
Right.
Why do I need
Mm,
to visit a therapist? And
mm,
it's brilliant that you're actually working in the direction because a lot of times people are not really aware how these fields have to work in a way in which they complement each other. They're not really replacement of each other, but
absolutely.
they really need to complement each
Absolutely.
other.
Absolutely,
Perfect.
totally.
Brilliant.
So I think, our approach is very multidimensional. I mean, so when you look at the rehabilitation and you look at the actual reintegration of someone who's been living with a mental illness, honestly speaking, the ideal situation, the most ideal situation that you can look for and that you can, ask for is with the client, of course, the caregiver, whoever's within the immediate environment, the doctor who is treating the actual, biochemical aspect of the illness, and then Manav Foundation who does the rehabilitation. So it really is a team to, come together and work together. So we're that one bit of the team that, you that people don't know very much about, I think.
That's brilliant. Uh, and are there different, like we spoke about, so are there other different initiatives that Mana Foundation is also into?
Sure. So apart from the rehabilitation center, which functions on a day-to-day basis to Saturday, which right now is on a digital platform, of course, because of the COVID pandemic. Other than that, we also have a support group for caregivers of people living with mental illness, which is called Sayog. We have another support group which is also currently dormant since COVID's made it very difficult for us to keep that support group alive, which is called Rainbow, which is a support group for people who've been through the process of rehabilitation and have successfully, reintegrated, are back on their feet. So we have a support group for them as well. And we also have what we call a counseling center for people who aren't necessarily diagnosed with an illness, but who have, temporarily compromised capacities to get by on a day-to-day basis. So we offer counseling as well.
Ah, okay. And any specific challenges that you have faced in terms of the work that you do, especially in the area of mental health?
I don't know where to begin. Challenges are many, and we meet challenges really. We meet them, head on, but they're quite relentless. I would say that the biggest challenge we face today, as we speak now, and not much has changed over the years, is I think would resonate with NGOs all over, which is funding. And I think that funding for us is a massive, massive challenge. It basically also, because we are into rehabilitation, we have the requirement of an actual space, a physical space that allows us to do a lot of our creative therapy. So it has specific requirements to be able to have a premises in Bombay, to be able to have the funds to pay for the rent or to buy a premise. These are the challenges that we are long-standing challenges in terms of being able to organizationally. But other than that, I think we do sometimes face challenges otherwise as well. I think that although there is less stigma over time, there is still some, it, and that does often prevent people from accessing our services and saying, okay, maybe this is what I need to do, and stepping up and asking. But I think I don't know if I see that as a separate challenge. I think that's part and parcel of the game. It's like it's, I guess, an occupational hazard to have to be able sort of help people take that step, once they've sort of acknowledged and they've accepted that, yes, okay, I need help, but then to be able to shed those inhibitions and to overcome, those barriers and step up and ask for help. That's part and parcel of the work we do. So, yes, it's challenging, but like I said, part of what we
Yeah.
do.
So, in fact, I don't know if you're aware of this, specifically with this particular challenge, that people are still
Yeah.
not completely comfortable visiting a mental health practitioner. We initiated an initiative
Mm.
sometime back. And, the initiative is basically
Mm.
about us nominating 5 practitioners, requesting them to create videos,
Uh-huh.
asking people to visit a mental health practitioner before
Uh-huh.
it's too late. And then they nominate 5 more people after that. So it's like a
Uh-huh.
chain that we are trying to create on that. And the purpose is exactly this,
Oh, I
because
had no idea about this.
so I'll probably share the details with you in some time. But for all of you who are also watching this video right now, the reason I'm bringing it up is, while a lot of people tell me that awareness about mental health is less in India, I don't necessarily agree with that. Matlab, to be true, there are a lot more people who are aware of mental health and the importance of it today than there were probably some time back. But the
Absolutely.
reluctance to visit a mental health practitioner seems to be a lot larger than the
Mm.
lack of awareness of mental health. And that's probably something that we also need to
Mm.
start focusing on and working on. So, for those of you who would like to, it's
Mm.
called a Visit MHP Challenge. If you would like to check it out, please check it out somewhere. The idea is we want more and more people to just post, request people visit mental health practitioners before it's too late.
Yeah.
Perfect. So,
Great.
it's amazing that we are talking about all of these challenges and the things that we are looking at. So, with the challenges we've spoken about, especially funding, for example, and also awareness, what are the steps that you take to be able to overcome those challenges generally?
So I'll talk about awareness first. So
Hmm.
awareness is one, say, mandates. It's something that we realize, has to be part and parcel of what we do, because otherwise inclusion and actual reintegration is not going to work. You have you have to have enough awareness and on different levels and about the different aspects of mental illness and mental health, so that society and the community at large is sensitized enough and is able to sort of reabsorb people who have been marginalized because of their illness. And in order to do that, we of course are we do, for example, this platform right now digitally. But other than that, we do projects, we do programs in schools, in colleges. We also do programs in housing, societies. Whenever we see an opportunity, wherever we see that, okay, there is a need, or if someone comes to us and says, okay, I have a kitty club, or I have, I have um, a large gathering in my office, a large number of people, a corporate gathering, so we use every opportunity we can. And depending on the population, depending on who it is we're interacting with, we will sort of tailor, the awareness and what it is that the message we want to send.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
where funding is concerned, I think, it's an ongoing battle. We unfortunately aren't. We haven't had much success with corporate houses. However, we do have. I think it's also growing, perhaps gradually. Um, but I think our main sort of support comes from the individual, and people who are familiar with us, familiar with the work we do, and have stepped up and supported us. And I can't tell you how many there are. I mean, it's been very encouraging. So I think to reach people and to be able to convey the importance of what we do is a large part of our strategy where fundraising is concerned.
Okay. And if there was specific support that you were looking for from people who are, let's say, watching this live today or who would be watching it later on, what kind of a support
Right.
would you?
Um, so to begin with, I think, to ensure that people know about us and, can access us and come to us and ask us for help. I think, to spread the word in terms of the fact that there is a center like Manav Rehabilitation Center. They are doing work even right now, even though the center per se is physically not operating, but we do have a digital platform. So to make ourselves more, to help us make ourselves more and more accessible. Also, of course, to sort of help us by supporting us financially, of course, that would mean a lot. And to help us also consistently. So, when we're looking at the future and you're looking at basically the, future trajectory of the organization, to have partners who may not be able to give us a big thundering amount of money, but who are able to commit to whatever it is that they can commit to, but on a consistent basis. So there is some sort of surety, some sort of security in terms of what's coming. And I think to help us in terms of being able to establish a center, for ourselves, a premise that we could perhaps, own, call us our own. Of course, nothing like that. So these are the main ways in which we would really, really appreciate support.
Okay. And why should people know about Mana Foundation?
Um, okay. So I think people should know about Manav Foundation because I honestly think that what Manav does is unique. I don't know of many organizations that do the kind of rehabilitation work that we do, and all the other sort of satellite, provisions that we services that we provide, that make the whole integration of people living with mental illness, possible. It really is something that I don't see very much. So, but I do know that there is a lot of mental illness, and I do know, like as you said, with awareness of mental illness increasing, there is a need for people to say, okay, now I'm aware that I might have an illness, so I'm aware that so and so might have an illness, but now what? What's the solution? And I think that we could be the solution for many people. So, and I think that that's also going to really exponentially, our reach is going to grow once COVID basically leaves us alone, because I think that the digital platform is something that we fully intend to continue even once we're able to restart our activities at the center. So definitely, I think we'll be able to reach that many more people. And I think there are a lot of people who have, varying degrees of mental problems and issues that can be addressed and helped by us. So I would say yes.
Perfect. So, in fact, that's one of the good things that you spoke about in terms of the digital platform now. I think, if nothing else, COVID did that much
Mm,
for us that we personally, for example, were
absolutely.
never, so we never were thinking of going online with counseling or with even the lives that we are
Yeah,
doing. We had been planning
yeah,
lives for years
yeah.
and we had not done them. Uh, and once we have,
It's been a massive opportunity. There's no
yeah,
doubt. Yeah,
and especially for
yeah,
mental health, because more and more people are now, so it's both good and bad that I've noticed it now. Everyone wants to talk about mental health and everyone wants to give tips about mental health. So that there is also kind of precaution that needs to be taken care of over there, but at least more and more people are talking about
right,
it. So that's probably the good side of whatever is happening right now.
right,
Super. And
right,
if
right.
if people have to get in touch with you or the foundation, how
Mm-hmm,
do they get in touch with you? What should
mm-hmm.
be?
Right. So I'll give you the name of our website. So the name of the
Hmm.
website is www.manafoundation.org.in. And on our website, you would also have find our contact numbers and all other coordinates such as Instagram. So the reason I'm only giving you the website address is because then you can actually visit the website and look at all the different things that we do. Because I'm quite sure that mostly everyone would find it interesting to learn about what we do there.
I actually went to the website and I was very impressed with the kind of work that you guys are doing. So it's been a pleasure to have you with us today because uh, I have been trying to connect with a lot of mental health NGOs, trying to figure out what they do. And believe me, there are
Right,
few and far who are doing very good and committed work, but you
right.
really have to search for them. So I'm
Yes.
really impressed with the kind of work that you guys are doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's hard work, but it's truly rewarding, and I do think that it's not the kind of work I think that would churn out large, huge numbers because it's very quality intensive. It's the kind of work that really handholds people through a enduring process from illness to recovery. And I think that it has the potential and has transformed many lives. So really, thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Uh, a couple of other questions that I have for you. One is,
Yeah, yeah,
in the area of work that you are in, obviously there are times when there are moments that stay with you, right? Any particular couple of
yeah.
moments that come to your mind which kind of have stayed with you as a part of the work that you're doing?
I think there are many, many moments where that I might not be able to sort of zero in on right away, but a couple come to mind, you know. But these moments are what I'm sharing is really about when I've been left sort of gobsmacked by, you know, my clients and the clients of Manav Foundation. And I think what I've learned over the years is that the biggest mistake one can make when working with people who have a mental illness is to underestimate, you know, anyone's intelligence or capacity in any way, you know, because there are times when you do, you know, especially when you're in the process of hand holding, you tend to be very cautious, you tend to be very, very careful, you tend to make sure that, you know, you've covered every, you know, you've left no stone unturned, basically. And, you know, and it just sometimes, you know, really, really amazes you how the client is like, you know, 10 steps ahead of you. And they're like, hello, catch up, you know, like I'm
Yeah.
already there, you know, where are you? And you know, and other things that come to mind is the way, so we use a lot of creative therapies, as you would know since you've been through our website. So we use therapies such as animal assisted therapy and dance movement therapy and drama and yoga and woven therapy. And these are therapies that, you know, work on extremely, extremely sort of subliminal levels. They work very subtly. They might not necessarily sort of, you know, their benefits may not become very obvious very quickly. And but there are times when clients have, you know, sort of related with a therapy or related with, you know, what it is that they're going through. So I remember this one incident that I'm happy to share with you is about so when we started animal assisted therapy, at that time we had a dog who, of course, was brought by the Animal Angels Foundation that is currently run by Radhika Nair. And they were talking to the client. It was an individual session, and they were talking to the dog's history and the fact that, you know, he had been abandoned and he had been abused and he had been, you know, when they found him and before they took him home and rescued him, that he was very badly injured and in bad shape. And he listened to them, and then, you know, and this is a gentleman who has schizophrenia and who has, you know, chronic now schizophrenia. So um, his and his story also had a lot to do with abandonment and also had a lot to do with a lot of pain along the way, needless to say. And he just was so he wasn't very fond of dogs, but he took to that dog because he said he listened and then he said, oh, well, you know, we're just the same, you know, because I've been through what he's been through, so I can understand what the fear he's feeling, and, you know, he will be able to understand me. And it wasn't entirely what the objective of that conversation was about, but it became about that. And, you know, so there are these sort of, you know, eye-opening sort, and they're very simple and they're very, very, you know, they don't have like a lot of, what would you say, you know, fanfare around them. They're very simple moments that, you know, take your breath away, you know, just in the course of a day, you know, they would just, yeah. So, and of course, I mean, the therapy worked wonderfully for that gentleman, and, you know, he really benefited from animal assisted therapy because
Yeah.
he was able, his insight allowed him to see that connection and experience it.
That's
So,
that's amazing. Uh, and yeah,
yeah.
I've actually noticed this, that while there is a lot of fanfare around certain processes, but in even in our experience, I've seen that the most powerful, breathtaking experiences with clients are in those simple moments where there is no, for the lack of any other word, there is
Absolutely.
no drama, there is no fanfare. It's just in that moment, probably
Mm.
a pause, and you're like, all right, so I know this is done now.
Absolutely. That's what I meant. They just happen in the course of the day, and then,
Yeah,
you have to sort of snap out of it, and pick your chin up off the floor and keep going, that sort of thing. Yeah.
brilliant, perfect. Uh, any other incidents that you would like to share, or
Oh, I wish I had given this some thought, but no, I mean, nothing's coming to mind right now, but I know there have been so many.
sure, sure, I understand. And in your personal life, in your personal journey, how the journey has been as a result of the work that you are doing?
Um, I think I think this the journey through being a professional, in the field of mental health, also being part of an NGO that does rehabilitation, being part of an NGO that's really struggled from day one and continues to struggle with, being able to I think and working with people, who have lived and are still living with mental illnesses, it can be extremely sort of humbling, to be able to learn from them. And I think that in many ways, I've taken from so many people that I've worked with, from the clients to the team to, my colleagues. And I think it's been a hugely, enriching, experience for me, and it continues to be because it really sort of allows me to live my interests and my passion, and it gives me this massive opportunity um, to express my potential, I would say. So I think that that in itself can be extremely enriching, and yeah.
Brilliant. Uh, and finally, can you share certain future goals or future plans that Mana Foundation has?
Yes. So to begin with, I think Manav Foundation, is looking for premises, is looking for a space that we can call our own, a space that we don't have to, sort of run away from because we can't afford the rent or because, our lease is up. And also we want to be able to sort of grow into the space also of residential care, especially for people, because when you look at mental illness, you're looking at an adult population, and we have quite a few senior clients who, you know, don't necessarily have family members who can care for them and look after them. So for them to be able to, benefit from a residential facility would really change their lives. Also, what we would like, and we've always thought of, is a halfway home for people who've spent long amounts of time institutionalized or hospitalized, and whose family, as well as the individual themselves, require that halfway home facility to be able to acclimatize and sort of readjust to life in the outside world. So, of course, it has many other nuances and many other different aspects. But those are, I think, important needs that people with mental illness have that
I
unfortunately we aren't fulfilling right now.
I think that's a very good idea. That transition phase where they are able to go back into their lives, and
Right,
there's a midway in between where they can kind of acclimatize. So
right,
that's a brilliant idea. Um,
right.
okay, so there are. I'm sorry, I said this is the last question, but there are a couple of questions that are coming into my mind right
No,
now.
no, no, keep going. No problem.
So, one, if I may know, what is the kind of how many people are there in the organization, and uh, yeah,
As in
how many?
clients, how many, what is
No, I'm
us?
talking the staff side. How many people are there?
So we aren't a very large organization. We're a small organization, and we number currently about Currently, we are 5 or 6 staff members, and we have, so that's the size of our team right now. We have clients. Our clients number approximately, give or take, with about 50 on a day-to-day basis, and yeah. So
And
I don't think. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
sure. So I was asking, do you guys take interns? The reason I'm asking you these questions is because a lot of times
Yes.
we have people who keep asking us about this. So,
One of our other mandates is training. So we
okay.
have two programs under training. So one program is the internship program, where we've had a lot of interns are more than welcome, and we've already had two, if I'm not mistaken, 3 batches of interns since lockdown. So we know now that we can even we can work the internship program digitally as well. So there's that program, and then we also have the capacity building program under training, which a little bit like what you do, which builds the capacity of mental health professionals or aspiring professionals and allows them to so for example, we have from other organizations that work with different target populations, because mental health is so all encompassing and it affects
Mm.
everyone. So they come to us for training in terms of how do you detect maybe that someone is has a problem or has an illness, so mental health first aid, so to speak, or to be able to recognize and detect and to be able to take care of a problem you know initially before one is sort of reaches a specialist.
Ah, so, and all of
So
these
that's
details,
a training.
sure. And all of these details are available on the Manav Foundation website, right?
Yes, they're all there.
Perfect. Brilliant. Uh, Anything that you would like to share apart from what we have discussed, please?
I have said a lot, so no, I can't think of anything else to add except that I do hope that these conversations, continue, and I do hope that mental illness as well as mental health, like you said, these conversations keep going, and people keep talking, and it becomes more and more, prominent in terms of social conversation. So
In fact, I hope exactly the same thing. And I hope even with
yeah.
Manav Foundation and with what we are doing, there are additional things hopefully
Hmm.
that we would be planning to do in future and see how we can support each other
And
and grow
so,
in that
yes,
process.
absolutely. And collaborate, because I think, really is the name of the game nowadays, is that everyone's doing something and everyone has, their own core potential and everyone has something to offer. And nobody can do everything, So if only we could find a way to really collaborate and, sort of join forces, I mean, sky's the limit.
So I think you've given me an idea in terms of what I want to work on next. So I'll probably keep that bit of it in my mind.
Okay.
Of because so
All right.
for me, one of the things has been is that I would love to have collaborations with different organizations who can all work together and find a way to be able
Right.
to support each other. Intentions. But we are all working at an individual
Sorry,
level where, sure, can you hear me now?
you're back. Now
Yeah.
you're back. Now you're back.
Uh,
Yeah.
So I was saying that we all are
Yeah.
working at our individual levels, and while all of us are trying to do good work, but because we are all working individually, it's like all scattered. And it would be a lot better if it's
Yes.
more
Yes.
structured, if it's more organized, where we can support each other. So let's see if there's something that we can start working on in
Absolutely.
this direction. Perfect. So thank
I'm
you
sure
for
we will be able to.
perfect. That's uh, I'm glad that you feel that way. Brilliant. So thank you for joining us today. It's been amazing to have this conversation with you. I would also like to thank all the people who have watched the video today or who would be watching it later on as we share it at different platforms. Uh, I it's just been amazing. So I don't know how do I close this and how do I end this right now. But anyway, so let me just put it this way: that remember I spoke about the initiative about asking people to visit the mental health practitioner.
Yes, yes,
So, as a part of the
yes.
initiative, we actually make a promise individually as a practitioner also that whenever I have an issue in my life where
Uh-huh.
I feel I need help, I promise to visit a mental health practitioner.
Yes.
And I request all my friends and colleagues that whenever they face any such challenges, please visit a mental health practitioner. It would be great if you could make that promise as well as we end this particular episode today.
I see no harm in doing that. I definitely, though I would like to sort of add to that, and I
Sure.
do think that, visiting a mental health practitioner is extremely important and is definitely something that needs to happen. However, I do think that, there are other ways and other means of, sort of helping each other through an issue. But if at all, you do find yourself, or you find yourself, with someone, or someone who isn't able to get that sort of help, or isn't being helped in any way, and definitely needs some sort of professional input, then I definitely would urge each and everyone to consider seeing a mental health practitioner, and of course, I would too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope all of you who are watching it have found what we have spoken about useful. I've shared the website details of Mana Foundation. So, any of you who would like to reach out, who would like to support Mana Foundation or seek help from Mana Foundation, please get in touch with them through the details that we have mentioned. And I'll see you all again next week, same time, 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nitin. It's been a pleasure, and it's been a lot of fun. And I wish you and your initiatives all the very best. Thank you
Thank
for
you and
having
wish
us
you.
here, and for
Thank you.
kicking off the initiative with us. That's also been special. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.